The Alcatraz Island, or simply Alcatraz, is one of the world's most infamous prison sites where the United States' most notorious criminals were held. The place is also known as the Rock, as it measures a mere 22 acres and isn't much more than a large rock. Originally, there wasn't even any soil on the island. It was all transported to the island in the early 20th century. However, the history of the island dates back another few hundred years. The first one to document the small island was the Spanish naval officer Juan Manuel de Ayala in 1775. He named the island Isla de los Alcatraces, meaning Island of the Gannets, due to the large population of seabirds living on the rocks. Because of the island's strategically important position, it became the site of a military fortress in the 1850s. It not only defended the bay against hostile attacks, but also guided friendly ships with its lighthouse. However, the island was not only strategically located from a purely military perspective, as it was surrounded by freezing waters and hazardous currents. Alcatraz was quickly discovered to be the ideal location for holding captives. The island served as a small prison for the first time during the Civil War. Later, towards the end of the 19th century, during the Spanish-American War, the number of prisoners increased dramatically. In the early 20th century, the fort was officially converted into a prison. The prison quickly became known for its harsh conditions and iron-handed discipline. The prisoners were divided into 3 classes, depending on the crimes they had committed. Each class has different levels of privileges, but they all had one thing in common. Anyone violating the rules would face strict disciplinary measures. This could include working on hard labor details, wearing a heavy ankle chain, and enduring solitary lockdowns with a small bread and water diet. Despite its hard conditions, Alcatraz mainly functioned as a minimum security prison. The majority of the prisoners were given rather generous privileges. Some were given special assignments such as cleaning, cooking, and doing chores. The majority were allowed to do some kind of recreational activity. However, due to the increasing operational costs, the US Army sold the prison to the Department of Justice in the early 1930s. During the same period, the Great Depression became the start of a new era of organized crime. The gangsters had come to town. This created a need for a new high-security prison where breakouts and escapes would be impossible. The federal agencies recognized Alcatraz's potential as a maximum security prison, and it soon became the storehouse for the country's most dangerous criminals. Alcatraz became a perfect solution, as it not only imprisoned public enemies, it also stood as a visible icon in the San Francisco Bay, sending a warning to the criminals with a message that was hard to miss. In 1934, work began to upgrade the prison to meet its new requirements. New modernized tool-proof bars and iron windows were installed and utility tunnels closed off access. They also installed special tear gas canisters in the ceiling of the dining hall, which could be remotely triggered from several observation points. Guard towers were strategically constructed around the perimeter, and electromagnetic metal detectors were added in several sections. They made sure that none of the 600 prisoner cells were adjacent to any perimeter wall, so even if a prisoner managed to escape a cell, they would still be locked inside the cell house. Even if someone, against all odds, managed to escape the prison, they would still be stuck on an island surrounded by chilling waters and deadly currents. Over the years, 14 escape attempts have been carried out, but the official records claim that none have made it. The vast majority of the escapees were either caught or shot and killed. The most violent escape is known as the Battle of Alcatraz. During this attempt, a group of inmates acquired firearms, upon which gunfights between inmates and guards took place. However, 3 men successfully carried out one of the most intricate escapes ever devised. Over a long period of time, they carved their way through the concrete walls with spoons and other stolen tools. They continued through several ventilation shafts while leaving papier-mâché dummies in their cells to fool the guards. They managed to escape the prison and took on the San Francisco Bay with a small inflatable raft made of stolen raincoats. Articles belonging to the prisoners, including plywood paddles and parts of the raincoat craft, were later located on nearby Angel Island. The official report on the escape says the prisoners drowned in the cold waters of the bay while trying to reach the mainland. The prison was closed in the year 1963. The reason was not only the high operative costs, but a half-century of salt water had severely eroded the buildings. By this time, Alcatraz has housed some of the most infamous inmates in the world, including Al Capone and Bill Machine Gun Kelly. Even after its closure, the island has been the center of attention on several occasions. One of these times is when the island got occupied by an American Indian Protestant movement. They stayed on the island for more than 19 months, demanding that their native land would be given back to them. When they left the island, several buildings had been damaged by fires. Traces of the occupation can still be seen today. Today, Alcatraz Island is one of the most popular tourist attractions in San Francisco.